For most Americans, it is an unquestioned truth, something absorbed early, reinforced often, and rarely challenged. The belief that when it comes to passports, theirs must be the strongest, the most respected, the one that opens doors without hesitation. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. After all, this is the United States, Hollywood's home, the world's loudest cultural export, a military footprint on nearly every continent, a country whose citizens grow up hearing that if anything leads the world, it is probably American. So imagine the moment, a casual conversation, a harmless Google search, a travel video playing in the background, and then, quietly, almost apologetically, reality intrudes. The UK passport outranks the US passport. Not by a technicality, not by some obscure loophole, but clearly, consistently, and with very little drama at all. For the American discovering this for the first time, the reaction is rarely explosive. It begins with laughter. A joke. Surely that can't be right. Britain? The country that drives on the wrong side of the road and still debates tea temperature? Then comes the pause, the rechecking, the second website. And finally, the silence. Because the numbers do not change. The British passport is stronger. And for many Americans, that is genuinely shocking. The assumption that the US passport reigns supreme doesn't come from arrogance, at least not consciously. It comes from storytelling. From decades of films where Americans cross borders effortlessly while the rest of the world waits in queues. From news coverage that frames power almost exclusively through military reach and economic size. From a national identity built on being first, biggest, and loudest. Passport strength, in the American imagination, feels like it should follow the same rules. More power, more access. More influence, fewer questions at the border. But passports do not care about assumptions. They care about trust. And trust, it turns out, is something Britain has been quietly cultivating for a very long time. The moment of discovery often unfolds the same way. An American planning a trip, maybe Europe, maybe Asia. They notice something odd. Their British friend doesn't need a visa where they do, or needs fewer documents, or gets waved through faster. At first, it's brushed off, an anomaly, a coincidence. Then curiosity takes over, a quick search for strongest passport in the world. And suddenly, the results appear. Singapore, Japan, Germany, South Korea. And there it is, the United Kingdom, sitting comfortably above the United States, not by one destination, by several. The American response shifts, the jokes stop, questions replace them. Since when? How? Why hasn't anyone mentioned this? Across the Atlantic, the British reaction could not be more different. Most Brits are vaguely aware their passport is useful. In the same way they are vaguely aware that the weather will probably disappoint and the kettle will always be nearby. It's not something discussed loudly. There are no chest-thumping declarations of passport supremacy. In fact, many British citizens only learn their passport is considered strong when an American points it out with visible disbelief. There is no parade, no national announcement, just a quiet nod, and a return to complaining about train delays. This contrast is where the humor lives. Americans expect fireworks. Brits respond with mild surprise that anyone thought otherwise. To understand why the UK passport holds such weight, you have to abandon the idea that power is always loud. Passport strength is not awarded for military spending or blockbuster movies or how often a country appears on the news. It is awarded for relationships. The UK's global footprint was not built overnight, nor was it built recently. It is the residue of centuries of diplomacy, trade, treaties, and institutional familiarity. Former colonies, Commonwealth ties, long-standing embassies, decades of being, if nothing else, predictable. Trusting a passport means trusting the system behind it. The border controls, the documentation, the expectation that visitors will follow the rules and leave when they say they will. And in that quiet bureaucratic world, Britain performs exceptionally well. The United States, despite its immense influence, struggles here. Its passport holders are numerous, mobile, and not always predictable. Visa overstays, complex entry requirements, and a reputation for strict border enforcement all play a role in how other countries respond in return. Passport strength is reciprocal. If you make entry difficult, expect the same treatment back. Britain, on the other hand, has spent years making access relatively smooth while maintaining tight internal controls. It's a balance that doesn't make headlines, but it does earn trust. When Americans encounter the actual numbers, the effect is often sobering. Visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to more countries than the US. Fewer pre-approvals. Less paperwork. The idea that strength could be measured so clinically feels almost unfair. Where is the drama? Where is the spectacle? That's the point. There isn't any. The British passport does not announce itself. It simply works. This is where cultural differences sharpen. Americans are conditioned to equate power with visibility. If it doesn't dominate the screen, it must not dominate reality. Britain operates differently. Influence is exercised quietly, through institutions, norms, and expectations that have been in place so long they feel invisible. When an American learns that a British citizen can enter certain countries more easily than they can, the reaction is not anger, it's confusion, a sense that something fundamental has been misunderstood. Because if passport strength isn't about size or volume, what else isn't? Meanwhile, British viewers watching this discovery unfold tend to react with a mix of amusement and mild validation. Not pride exactly, more like confirmation of something they never felt the need to explain. Of course it's stronger. It's always been like that. Did you not notice? The humor deepens when Americans begin comparing notes. Forums fill with disbelief. Travel vloggers make reaction videos. Comment sections light up with variations of, "How did I not know this?" And still, the rankings remain stubbornly unchanged. This moment forces a broader reckoning. Passport power is a mirror, not a trophy. It reflects how the world sees you, not how you see yourself. For Britain, that reflection shows a country trusted to manage its borders responsibly, to document its citizens accurately, and to maintain stable relationships even when politics become noisy. For the United States, it reveals a more complicated image. Respected, certainly. Influential, without question. But also cautious, transactional, and sometimes difficult to deal with. None of this diminishes American power. It reframes it. And that reframing is uncomfortable, because it suggests that in the modern world, soft power matters more than spectacle. That being agreeable can sometimes open more doors than being dominant. The British passport's strength is not the result of recent triumphs. It is institutional inertia working in Britain's favor. Systems built long ago, refined slowly, and rarely celebrated. There is no marketing campaign, no slogan, just consistent results. As the reality settles in, American reactions tend to soften. Shock gives way to curiosity, then to grudging respect, and occasionally to humor. Well, at least we have better burgers. Brits, predictably, respond with polite indifference. This entire revelation says less about passports and more about perception, about how nations understand themselves versus how they are understood by others. The strongest passport in the world is not a crown, it is a consensus. And consensus is built quietly, patiently, and often without applause. So the next time an American flips through their passport with confidence, and a British traveler does the same with casual ease, remember that the difference is not about who shouts the loudest. It's about who the world trusts to knock, enter, and leave without fuss. And perhaps the most surprising part of all is not that the UK passport is stronger, it's that so many people are only just noticing. Because once you do, the question becomes unavoidable. If power looks different here, where else have we been mistaken?